the illegal alien driver who was working for White Hawk Carrier, according to Sean Duffy, was improperly issued a full-term CDL by the state of Washington. He says asylum seekers and illegal aliens are not allowed to receive this. Furthermore, California also issued him a CDL. And New Mexico failed to conduct an English language proficiency test when they pulled this driver over for speeding. He says, had they done this, the driver would not have been on the road. He said states must follow the rules. If they had, this driver would never have been behind the wheel and 3 precious lives would still be with us. The failures here are despicable. Non-enforcement and radical immigration policies have turned the trucking industry into a lawless frontier, resulting in unqualified foreign drivers improperly acquiring licenses to operate 40-ton vehicles. So we were already into the Ferguson press conference on sanctuary policies as this was happening. And so I wasn't able to get a question. I asked for a one-on-one with Governor Ferguson afterwards. He couldn't accommodate it. Not maybe a particular surprise. But of course, the state of Washington has exposed itself to a lot of liability here. I imagine they'll be sued over this by the family members of the people who were killed. But there's also questions about how could this even happen? If he wasn't supposed to legally be able to get this CDL from the state of Washington or California, how did he get it? Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, as you can imagine, is livid over all of this. I talked to my sister about it on our segment, Florida Report.
It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Miranda, hello.
Hello.
This is just devastating. And watching the video, I mean, so are you familiar with where this is on the Florida Turnpike? And I just can't imagine, like, in a big rig like that, thinking it was okay as people are driving at freeway speeds to just whip a U-turn. It's insane.
Yeah, this was just north of Palm Beach. So I'd say maybe about 2 hours north of where I am. So not that far considering how big Florida is. And you're right. It's kind of one of those things that I feel like should be common knowledge. But when you have somebody in this case that doesn't understand basic English or even road signs, I don't know. It doesn't make up for even the lack of empathy you see in that video where he like has almost no reaction.
Almost no reaction. I couldn't believe it. It's sort of like, oh, well. And you know, I was a little iffy when President Trump came out and said, hey, we need all these big rig drivers to speak English. And I'm like, is that necessary? And I was hearing from people in the trucking industry like, yes, it's necessary. They're driving this massive machine down the road at freeway speeds, and they can't even, some of them, read signs on the road, you know, about things like this, like, no, you know, and I mean, some signs are basic and they're just pictures that everyone can understand, but just devastating. So Ron DeSantis came out, Governor DeSantis had a press conference about this. We just talked about the tie here to Washington State, and I wanted to play more of it. I won't play a ton, but I wanted to play the clip where he specifically calls out Washington and California.
How ridiculous is it that somebody would get a commercial driver's license who doesn't understand the language of this country, doesn't understand road signs, doesn't understand these things. And the feds, when they had him detained a couple days ago, they did an English test and he failed abysmally, not even close. Like, not only like, you know, a little English, like, no, he was terrible. And yet he's getting these commercial licenses from these sanctuary states. And you know, in the U.S., we all kind of have our opportunities to run our states the way we want. We've chosen to be the free state of Florida, and I think most people here appreciate that. California, Washington State, they're choosing much different pathways, and I think it's been very destructive to the people there. That's why people have fled those states. But, you know, their policies and their recklessness spills over to other states in this country. And it's spilled over, in this case, to the state of Florida. So the 3 Floridians are dead, you know, in part because of the recklessness that we see out on the left coast.
And I think that's a fair point. You know, you can, as he said, you can run the state how you want to run your states. But when there is a direct impact, now we have Floridians dead because of, in part, sanctuary policies in Washington and California.
Yeah, all the way across. That means that this guy drove through countless states, that probably multiple states that wouldn't recognize his license as valid, just like Florida doesn't, all the way to get here and commit this crime. And like, I call it a crime because you did something that's completely illegal. Like, you made an illegal U-turn
crime,
on the
yes.
highway.
Not a question.
You know,
that it's a crime.
Yeah, and I can't believe that he wasn't arrested on the spot and he was able to fly back to California. I don't think these governors of these states like yours in California realize that, like, you're trying to offer these people freedoms that other states have reasons, very good reasons, not to allow people in their states to have those freedoms.
Right.
And it does leak over. I mean, this is a really good example, a horrible example of that. And once he gets back here, I mean, DeSantis, like you said, he's going to throw the book at him. But it's not going to change, like, it's not going to change anything. If you want to give your, illegal immigrants certain rights in your states, those rights shouldn't be able to extend outside of your state lines.
100%.
Have a commercial license, and you want people to be able to, have jobs and operate their commercial vehicles, operate them within the state. But the fact that he was allowed, and the company he worked for also should be facing some heavy scrutiny too, because allowing this guy to not only be able to pass basic literacy tests for like English literacy and not even recognize certain road signs. Like, I can't believe he even got his commercial license in the first place, let alone is allowed to drive it wherever he wants in the United States.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of questions about, well, how did he get it? Because technically he wasn't supposed to be able to get it in Washington state either. He got so there's actually really a couple states that are at fault here. So California's issuance of the driver's CDL. Washington state issued him a full-term CDL. New Mexico failed to conduct an English language proficiency test when he was pulled over in New Mexico for speeding. They said had they done this, the driver never would have been on the roads. There's multiple states that failed here. And so we don't know, did he get these CDLs by kind of surreptitious means? Like, did somebody lie somewhere along the way? But it exposes our state now to the taxpayers of our state to great risk. I mean, if I'm the family of the people who died, I'm suing the state of California, I'm suing the state of Washington, I'm suing the state of New Mexico, I'm suing the carrier that employed him. It's just unreal that it happened. And at the same time that this news came out from Secretary Duffy, our governor was standing up with the who's who of leaders in our states talking about how we're going to fight back against any efforts from the federal government to undo our sanctuary policies. As the news is coming out that something we did here led to 3 deaths in Florida. So sad stuff. All right, Miranda, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Well, their freedoms are going to be respected unless somebody comes in from one of our stupid states and hurts them, and Florida couldn't do anything about it. It's unreal.